Hey there, and welcome to MTG Meow, magic experienced in other ways.
Meow.
There's the cat. I'm Scott.
And I'm Meowby.
What's your real name?
Abbey.
Abbey. So Scott and Abbey. So we want to show you some other ways to play Magic because Magic sets, the official Magic sets, and they're fine and whatever. But sometimes it's more fun to experience Magic in ways that other people who aren't in Magic R&D have imagined it, and trying to see ways that they would take things that you like already, such as you can see on the screen right now, Pokemon, and transform it into Magic cards. So things that you like, and kind of translate it into the Magic medium. And
it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun because it can be easy to get bored with the same old. Well, not the same old, but
it does get a little stale if you're into playing Magic and whatnot. And sometimes there are times when standard feels a bit stale because there's not running decks that just don't seem like fun, and everything's just kind of funky. So you want to try something new, and maybe you're into Pokemon at the time too, and you can. It's a good way to fuse these two things together that you like,
right?
And try it out as a Magic card game,
right? So actually, today we're showing off this Pokemon Red and Blue Magic set, which is a Magic set, a custom Magic set that I've made. 3 years ago? It's been
a long time.
It's been a long time. I've been working on it steadily for about 3 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's gone through many reiterations, and we've drafted it. Abby and I have drafted it with our friends several times.
Many times.
And
many times.
Yeah, and if you want to download it yourself and take a look at the entire set in its entirety, you can download. The link is in the description, and I think we'll link to a draft that we did with our friends before, just so that you can see how, if you would be interested in doing a draft of this set on your own with your friends, how that might be possible. But one thing Abby and I have always wanted to do was we wanted to show off the set being played, but it was really kind of difficult to do that in real life.
It was extremely difficult.
Right, because we did manage to print out all the cards and make booster packs and all that for the drafts, but filming it and getting commentary and stuff was very hard.
Oh, yeah, and especially rigging cameras, getting decent mics, getting really good cameras that are how Star City does things.
Yeah,
it's really difficult.
We weren't going to get anywhere near Star City, but but to get anywhere near
anything decent.
Right, anywhere near anything decent, it was very hard. But we found out recently that we can play these custom sets on Cockatrice, which is a Magic Online program. So what we'll do is we're going to share first this Pokemon Red and Blue set, and then maybe we'll take a look at some other custom sets and play them online against each other, just Abby and I, and we'll take a look, and if you like them, you can download them, test them out yourself, and have some fun enjoying Magic in other ways.
Let's do it.
Right, so today we want to start off with this Pokemon Red and Blue set that I've been working on, as we said, and so this video will just be an introduction to kind of the themes, the mechanics of the set, and then after that, Abby and I will show off some games. We'll do an exhibition match, because Abby and I have drafted and played this set hundreds of times.
Oh God, if not.
And we both kind of have our favorite styles and decks that we've made with the set, so we're just going to play those against each other in exhibition. Then we'll do a sealed deck, and then after that we'll do a draft. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see that, but
an air quote draft.
It's very hard to do a draft of a custom Magic set on the computer, and it's just, there's so many things that you need to go right, and we'll save it for that video. It'll be kind of interesting. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, we've managed to finagle a way with Cockatrice to do it, right? So,
kind of.
So,
but anyway, enough chit chat. Let's get to the set because I think people want to see that. So right now, I just want to talk just a little bit about what went into designing the set, because again, it's been in design, again in quotes, design and development for 3 years now. So it's gone through a lot of reiterations, but there's been kind of 3 things that have stayed true to the set since the very beginning.
What are they?
Well, when I set out to make the Pokemon set at the very beginning, I was like, well, what defines Pokemon? And in my mind, what defines Pokemon are, 1, all the different types.
Right.
Water, fire, electric, flying, all those. All the types.
And they all mesh well together.
Yes, and having
weaknesses and toughnesses and all that.
Right, having all the different types present, that was kind of important to me. Yeah. And number 2 was evolution. So evolving. So we have, our little Dratini here. That means we could just have a Dragonair in the set that would be completely, and a Dragonite, and they would be completely separate from each other, but that would just feel kind of lacking. I needed a way to link them together.
That would feel really flat to not have some kind of an evolution mechanic.
Right, so there needed to be 1, all the types, 2, some sort of evolution, And then 3, it was very important to me to include all the original 151 Pokemon. So you've had to kind of make a couple interesting choices here and there, which we'll talk about later, in order to make sure that all 151 were in the set, because every single Pokemon is someone's favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be sad if, we made the set and, Doduo wasn't in it or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about Weedle? Or is Weedle somebody's favorite?
So it was very important to me to have those 3 things, having all the types, an evolution mechanic, and all 151 Pokemon in the set.
Yeah, you gotta have them all.
Gotta have them all. All right, so let's talk about the types real quick. So as you saw before...
Wait. Is it original 150 or 151?
Abby, you've played this set hundreds of times.
151.
151.
All right.
Okay.
I just wanted to check.
Well, because if I didn't include 151, people would say, "Where's Mew? Where's Mew?"
Exactly.
So
all right.
So anyway, let's talk about the types real quick. So as you guys have been probably looking at right here for a long time, we have one of the first types is Dragon type.
Ooh.
So that says when it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So that's kind of like how in the Pokemon games, Dragon types they're resistant against all the elemental types, against electric, water, fire, and grass. So they're kind of good against all those different types. And again, this will probably be for another video, but all these different types have gone through many different iterations, and they've changed a lot. So Dragon type used to be something completely different.
Yeah, Dragon type has changed. I think it's the one that's changed the most out of all of them, I think.
Well, maybe. We can talk about that in another video, but I'll be happy if you guys have questions or wait, that doesn't sound very Dragon typey or whatever. I'd be more than happy to share my experience testing other mechanics with you. But this is where Dragon type is now. And the other one that you guys just saw, why don't we head on over back to Doduo, is Normal type.
Ooh.
So Normal type is when this creature enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness. So again, Normal type was kind of hard to place, because it's how do you define Normal type?
Yeah, I mean, that just seems, normal just sounds so vanilla.
Right.
And just plain and flat.
Right, and that's kind of what gaining life is in Magic. I mean, gaining life is fine for sure, but it's never really like a winning strategy. You can gain up to 40, 50, 60 life. Great. I can kill all your creatures, attack for 40, 50 damage, and you're still dead. Who cares?
Yeah.
But one thing that's nice about Normal type is that, you're getting a creature and you're gaining life. So it's like you get a blocker or an attacker, and you're still kind of buffering your life total.
Or in this case, you get a flying bear.
Right, and a flying bear?
Never mind.
Anyway, and I really like it too because it says you gain life equal to its toughness, which means it scales along with the creature's toughness. So as you play bigger creatures, you gain more life. It's not like when this creature enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, period. No, It gets bigger and bigger as the creature gets bigger. And while we're on Doduo, we might as well talk about flying. There is no flying type in the set because, Magic already has a very great flying mechanic. So that worked out nicely. All right, so why don't we go down the list, and we'll take a look at some of these other things. And if I accidentally click on these other cards, you can go ahead and take a look. They might not make complete sense right now. But
they will soon.
They will soon. But the next one we'll talk about is Water type. So Water type, we'll look at Squirtle here, says, when this creature enters the battlefield, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card.
Oh, so it's like a flow of cards.
Exactly.
A flow of water.
Again, yes, and I can hear some people thinking wait a minute, that doesn't sound so water typey. And yeah, you're 100% right. But we tried a bunch of other things for water type, and this one really feels like it's very blue, and it really helps with the game, kind of getting the card flow going.
Yeah, it does have a nice flow to it when you play with it.
But anyway, we're getting a little off track. So let's get to the next type, which is Ice type. So Seal here will be our example. So Ice type says, when this creature enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
Ooh.
So we've kind of seen this before in Magic, where you have Frost Titan, which kind of does the exact same thing. So Ice type stayed pretty much the same since the beginning.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
All right, so let's go down to the black ones. We have black kind of represents the ghosts and the psychics and the poisons.
Ah, one of my favorites.
So let's click to Abra, the psychic type. So psychic type says when this creature enters the battlefield, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard.
It's like you can see the future.
Exactly. It's like a scry kind of ability, but it has kind of more graveyard synergies, which is what we were looking for. And then next up is Ghastly with Ghost type. So Ghost type says when this dies, target player sacrifices a creature.
Ooh. Ooh. That's nuts.
It's not nuts, but it's like, dragging them to the grave with them.
If I'm going down, you're coming with me.
Exactly. All right, and then for poison, we have Zubat, which has poison type. And poison type says whenever this creature attacks, defending player loses 1 life.
That's interesting.
Right, because
it's exactly just like the other poison type, right? The magic? Oh, it's completely different. Okay, never mind.
So yeah, again, some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, isn't there already a poison in Magic where you get poison counters, and when you have 10 poison counters, you lose the game, like Infect?
Yeah.
Something like that. And again, yeah, we tried that in an early iteration of the game. Turns out if you have Infect or poison counters in your set, they kind of cannibalize the entire set. You have to have many cards care about them in order to really work.
That's true. That really throws a wrench in things, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about this more in another video, but for now, this is what we have as our poison type. And so let's go on to the red cards, which is our fire and fighting and electric types. So we'll start off with Charmander, who's our fire.
Cute.
It is very cute. So fire type says when this creature enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target opponent. So it's kind of the opposite of normal type. Instead of gaining life equal to its toughness, it deals damage equal to its power.
I love that.
So yeah, you would. Abbey is a red mage through and through.
Yeah.
So again, it kind of scales nicely with the cards. As you get bigger fire types, it deals more and more damage, which is something that would make Abbey very happy.
Oh, it makes me incredibly happy. Straight to the face. No punches. Just damage all the way. Straight to the face.
So next up, we have our fighting types.
Bam!
And fighting is also, a thing in Magic as well. So we kind of just piggybacked on that with making fighting type when this creature enters the battlefield, you may have it fight another target creature. So that means something like Hitmonlee, you can play it as a 3/1 creature if you want, or you can just use it as a removal spell if you want as well. And you can also potentially pump it, make it so that it survives the fight, and there's some other tricks that you can do in this set with fighting types as well.
Where is Hitmonlee's mouth?
Moving on, we have electric types. So electric type is, I think, tied with dragon type for one that has gone through the most amount of changes. And electric type here, as we have it now, is when this creature deals damage, if it isn't electrified, put a +1/+1 counter on it and it becomes electrified.
Ooh,
so it's
shocking.
Shocking, exactly. So it's kind of like you get this electrical outburst that makes it more powerful. So it's kind of like Renown, from people who've played that from the Magic core set, where whenever this creature deals combat damage, if it isn't Renown, put a +1/+1 counter on it and it becomes Renown. We kind of piggybacked on that as well because it's just a nice, aggressive mechanic that works well with a lot of other cards in the set as well.
It really does.
So that's electric type. And now going on to the green cards, which is our bugs and grass type, we'll start look at Bulbasaur, which has grass type. So this creature has tap, add 1 green mana to your mana pool.
It's also incredibly cute.
I picked some good, cute art,
You really did.
Yeah, so green, obviously that'll help it ramp and do
Ramp cutie pie.
Ramp cutie pie and do some other interesting things in the set. And moving on to bug type with Caterpie.
Always cute.
Bug type says when this creature enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green bug creature token. So you just make a giant bug army and kind of take over that way.
It's really fun to play that way as well. To just sort of play Caterpie and then get a whole bunch of bugs down and then just bam, 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 beat face with this army of bugs. It's so much fun. Yes. I love bug type.
Abbey likes bugs and fire.
Yes.
That's Abbey's soul in 2 words. All right. So last 2 types we have looking next as rock type. So here's Geodude for rock type, which says whenever this creature blocks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's kind of a more defensive mechanic because rocks are kind of slow, they're defensive,
and they're tough.
They're tough. And I know some people might say, well, wait a minute, Geodude is a rock type and a ground type.
We'll get to that.
Well, we can get to it right now.
Okay, let's do this.
As we all know, Pokemon Generation 1 had a lot of interesting choices, such as there were almost no grass-only types, and there were almost no rock-only types. All the grasses were grass and poison. All the ghosts were ghosts and poison. All the rocks were rock and ground. And, Pokemon, the original Red and Blue, were such good games that they overcame those strange design choices.
Which is very interesting to think about.
Well, it's a testament to how good the game was. But here, in translating it into Magic, I found that, making the cards more distinct from each other made it much more interesting. So rather than having just a plethora of poison types everywhere and making every single rock type ground type as well, I found that, it really gave it more distinction between all the different Pokemon here. So while I think a lot of purists might say, well, Geodude should be ground type as well, I agree that you are definitely correct in that way. But I think in order to make the card set the best that it could, a few sacrifices had to be made, and that was one of the smaller ones, in my opinion.
Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
All right, and then the last type we have is ground type. So look at Cubone here. So ground type says whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's the opposite of rock type, where whenever they block, they get +1/+1. Here, it's whenever they attack, they get +1/+1. So they kind of work together very well. And
it's very yin yang type of deal with these two.
Right. So, and you can see on certain ones like Rhyhorn that are both ground type and rock type. They attack, they get it. They block, they get it. As long as they're doing something, they're getting the bonus. All right, cool.
You gotta work for that bonus.
So that's all of the types in the set. So that was, again, the number one thing that I really wanted to translate from the Pokemon games to the card set. The second thing I really wanted to translate was evolution. So let's just take a look at a very basic evolution card.
And one of the best, might I add.
So here we have Charmeleon, who of course evolves from Charmander. So Charmeleon, like all fire type Pokemon in the set, has fire type. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target opponent. But then it also has the evolution mechanic, Evolution Charmander. So that says creatures you control named Charmander are a copy of this. Whenever a creature becomes a copy this way, draw a card. So if you have a Charmander on the battlefield and you play Charmeleon, then suddenly that Charmander becomes a Charmeleon and he goes from a 2/1 into a 3/2. Maybe he can attack for more damage.
Yeah.
And it also works nicely because if you have a Charmeleon on the battlefield already and then you cast Charmander, it immediately becomes a Charmeleon, deals 3 damage with its fire type to the opponent. I can see you're making a face of bliss over there.
Well, it's one of my favorite mechanics in the entire set, is just being able to do that, to evolve the Charmander, get bust in for that damage to the face.
And you draw a card.
Yeah, and you draw a card because of Evolution's mechanic.
Right, exactly.
Which is fantastic.
So again, I know that a lot of people say like, well, wait a minute, that's not how evolution works in the game. Shouldn't Charmander like sacrifice itself so you can play Charmeleon for less, or shouldn't you be able to like search up a Charmeleon and replace it with a Charmander or something? And again, we can make a whole video about the changes that the set has gone through, but we have tried a couple of those things and they just really weren't that fun.
Yeah, they really weren't. It was just funky and weird, and this way, in my opinion, it can be a little disconcerting when your opponent ends up with 3 Charmeleons on the board suddenly at once. But I mean, there are ways around that, and it's easy to find an answer to things like that in this set. The set is just designed, I think, very well in the sense that you can do that.
Right, and well, again, let's not praise it too much. I don't think the set is perfect.
Well, I didn't say it was perfect.
I don't think the evolution mechanic is perfect either, but I think it makes for a very fun Magic representation of what's going on in Pokemon.
Exactly. Just try it. You'll like it.
Similar to, how we couldn't really have every single type that all of the original ones had, like Bulbasaur we didn't really want him to be a poison. Ghastly didn't want to be poison.
Wait, Bulbasaur was originally a poison grass?
I believe so.
Huh.
So, but yeah,
all right.
It was just a few sacrifices to make in order to translate it into the cart, into making it a fun set to draft. So, and then this, of course, the evolution mechanic continues into the next set. So where is Charizard? Right here at the top. So here we have Charizard, flying, double strike, and fire type. So when it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage right away. Can deal even more with its double strike. And it has evolution Charmander or Charmeleon. So that means if you have a Charmander or Charmeleon in play, when you have cast Charizard, then they all become Charizards, flying, double striking in the air. So I think one of the happiest days of your life was when you cast a Charizard and you had like 2 Charmanders out.
Oh, it was definitely one of the best days up to getting married. Yeah.
Married was a distant second.
Yeah, a distant second.
All right. So, and one of the kind of the cool things that this evolution mechanic does is it really influences how you draft the set. Because, if you get an early Charizard, then you're going to be taking those Charmanders and Charmeleons really high.
Yep.
You know, Charmander and Charmeleon, well, Charmeleon's a decent card, but Charmander is not so great.
On its own, yeah.
But when you have a Charizard in your set, suddenly it becomes a lot more valuable. And that kind of really makes the draft more fun because certain cards are more valuable to other people and they might pass other goodies to other players, and it really makes you evaluate your picks in a different way.
It really does.
All right, so we talked about all the different types. We talked about the evolution mechanic, and the last thing that I just want to touch on briefly was getting all the Pokemon into the set. So when I originally did this set, I had to divvy up all the Pokemon into their respective colors: white, blue, black, red, green. So we have, the normal types in white. We have the dragon types in white, and we have, a lot of the flying types in white as well. But one thing that you'll notice when you start to try to divvy up all of the Pokemon into their respective colors is that the original 151 had a ton of water types.
Really?
It was a ton of water types, yes.
Why so many water types, I wonder?
They made a lot of interesting choices. But anyway, because of all these water types, I couldn't... And it would be very strange to have a water type be red or something like that. You can see it right now. It is just not cool. If you're going to make a water type in Magic, it needs to be blue. So I originally tried really hard to put all the water types into blue, but it just wouldn't fit. There were way too many blue cards, and just there weren't enough cards. I would have had to make like 10 extra sorceries and instants and enchantments in the other colors to make up for it. And that would have made blue very creature heavy, and it would have been very strange.
Yeah. So
instead what I did is I decided to make this a very heavy multicolor set.
That's a good way to deal with that problem.
Thank you. So we have the blue-white water types, and we have, blue-black water types, and trying only to click on the important things here. Where's our blue-red? We have our blue-red water types, and then we have our blue-green water types.
Hey.
So it kind of spreads them out to all these different other colors. And then as I did that, it became a very multicolored centric set. As you can see here, all of these gold cards are multicolored.
Yeah, and then the water problem, it balanced itself out that way, which is great.
So in addition to being a set that really cares about, all the different types and having evolutions, it's also a very multicolor heavy set. And all the 10 color combinations, they each have, their own. They have 2 commons. So for like blue-white, we have Shelder and Krabby. Then we have the evolutions of those commons. So we have Cloyster and Kingler. And then we also have a rare. So for here we have Ditto. And then they also have a fun uncommon. Here we have Ice Beam. And then they also have a mythic. And here is Articuno.
That is sexy.
Yes. So, Articuno. You can download the set in the description. You can take a look at all these cards at your own leisure. But, Articuno being a mythic kind of freezes all of your opponent's Pokemon.
Well, yeah.
Their creatures are never untapping again as long as Articuno's around. So, and in order to kind of make that multicolor stuff work, we put in 10 lands based on the Pokemon world in order to 10 common dual lands. So we have Celadon City, Cerulean City, Cinnabar Island, Fuchsia City, things like that in order to help make drafting 3, 4, even 5 colors much more doable.
Excellent.
All right, and one last thing that I want to touch on before we finish this video, because it's getting a little long, is the other mechanic of the set, which is Pokemon Master.
Yes.
Pokemon Master says, well, we look at quick attack here, and usually it gives a creature +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Okay, whatever, great. But if you have Pokemon Master, it says the creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn if you control a creature with evolution. So evolution being, again, Charmeleon, Charizard, whatever. So the reason that this is in the set is because when we originally started testing it, getting your Charmander to evolve into a Charizard or Charmeleon was fantastic, but it just didn't happen quite enough. It happened maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times per match. So what I did is I put this Pokemon Master ability on a lot of the commons and a couple uncommons and rares in order to really make people want to draft more of the expensive and powerful evolution cards in their decks.
Get them fatties out.
Right, because while it is certainly possible to draft an aggressive deck as you can see with like poison types and the fire types.
Exactly.
This set is mostly focused around doing big things, getting out your Blastoises and your Venusaurs and everything and slamming them into each other and seeing what happens. All right, cool. So we've gone on for long enough about this set. So, and for the next few videos, Abby and I are first going to do an exhibition match with some of our favorite
cards, our favorite themes. I'm doing bugs and fire. I believe.
You're doing bugs and fire, and I'm going to do 3-color control.
Oh, God.
Based on the colors that you didn't use. That way we can show off all the colors in the set.
A nice little showcase.
And then after that, we'll do a sealed. Abby and I will each do our own sealed pool, and we'll play them against each other. And then we'll do a draft, and we'll both draft and throw those decks against each other, and you guys can see what this set looks like in action.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Drafting is a lot of fun, especially this set, so we can show them the fun.
All right, cool. So let's get to it.
See ya.